So Dana White's Contender Series is back for another season, and that means that I am back to talk about it on the We Want Picks channel. So welcome back to We Want Picks. I'm Artem MMA, and I'm going to be giving you guys my predictions for every single week of Dana White's Contender Series this week. Starting off with Dana White's Contender Series week number 1 for the 2023 season. I cannot wait for it. It's going to be fun. If you guys know anything about me, you know that I do love Dana White's Contender Series. I will be writing articles on the We Want Picks premium membership service a week in advance for all of these cards. And I'm going to be giving you guys my predictions in video form on the We Want Picks channel every single week for the 10 weeks that the Contender Series is on. I cannot wait for it. Hopefully you guys are also as excited for the Contender Series as me. I cannot wait for it. So let's just get into the predictions for week number 1 of 2023 Dana White's Contender Series. Kicking off the card and also the entire season is going to be Kevin Borjas versus Victor Diaz at flyweight, and it's going to be a big clash in styles because Kevin Borjas is a striker and Victor Diaz is a grappler. Kevin Borjas is a pretty powerful striker. All 8 of his wins are by knockout, and that is very impressive at 125 pounds. He does have one loss by submission, but that didn't really come down to his opponent taking him down and then kind of out grappling him. He actually got knocked down with a head kick, and then Renzo Mendes finished him off that way. And then Victor Diaz, though, is a grappler for the most part. His wrestling isn't super strong, but once he gets the fight down to the ground, you can see he is a very high level black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's a very good submission artist as well. He transitions from submission to submission. He chained together like 3 different submissions when he beat Rysavik Ibrahimov, who I think is probably one of his best wins. Or you could maybe say Cleveland McLean is his best win, because Cleveland McLean has now gone on to have a pretty good career himself. He went on a big win streak after that. But the point is, Victor Diaz has fought some pretty good fighters. Now, on paper, they don't look that great, but Cleveland McLean went on a big win streak. Rysavik Ibrahimov has lost a lot since then, but all of his losses have been by decision except for 2. And one of those was to Diaz. So it is a credit to Diaz's grappling and his ability to get submissions. The fight against Thiago Bello was so weird because he had him in the arm triangle and Thiago Bello wasn't going to tap. It didn't seem like the arm triangle was super locked in, but the referee walked over and started tapping on his back like this. And then Victor Diaz thought that the tapping come from his opponent, so he released the triangle, started celebrating. The referee didn't do anything about it. If you got UFC Fight Pass, just watch it because it is such a weird exchange, and you actually do feel really bad for Thiago Bello. Now, Thiago Bello was losing that fight. Victor Diaz was up, but it was just a weird fight. It's also worth noting as well that Kevin Borjas has been through so many different opponents. I would actually say that this is probably the best opponent that he's got so far, because Hickson Taizenadim is also a grappler, very much a lights out grappler. Pretty cool guy as well. He commented on my YouTube channel a couple of weeks ago. And Joshua Van just went out there and fought Zalga Shimekilov and won on short notice. So I don't know how I feel about this matchup in particular for Kevin Borjas, because I haven't seen anything of his grappling. What I saw from the very limited amount of tape that was available on Kevin Borjas is that his opponents like to strike with him. When he lost by submission, I said it wasn't due to him getting taken down and out grappled. I don't know how good his takedown defense is. I don't know how good his grappling is, because his opponents strike with him. This guy's got 8 wins by KO, and none of his opponents really decided to grapple with him. Victor Diaz, I've seen Victor Diaz go out there and submit guys. I've seen him grapple guys. I've seen him out wrestle pretty good wrestlers. I think I can see Victor Diaz go out there, take down Kevin Borjas probably within the first 30 seconds of the fight. And I think you probably will have to do that, because on the feet, Victor Diaz leaves himself very open, and especially when he throws hooks, because Victor Diaz on the feet is leg kicks or hooks. And after he throws a hook, man, does he leave himself very exposed, and Kevin Borjas could land a big counter and knock him out. But I think that Victor Diaz is going to go out there. He's going to shoot for a takedown, I think, within the first 30 seconds of the fight. I think he gets that takedown probably within the first 90 seconds of the fight. And I think he finishes the fight within the first round by submission, probably arm triangle choke. I think he gets on top of Kevin Borjas and gets a submission by arm triangle. I'm going with Victor Diaz, who is a minus 400 favorite. I think that those odds are too wide. I don't really like Victor Diaz at minus 400, but I think he gets it done. I think Kevin Borjas at plus 300 could knock him out, but I'm going to go with Victor Diaz as the big favorite. He's a big favorite on Tapology as well. 88% of people picking Diaz, only 12% picking Borjas. Either way, this fight isn't going to go the distance. Fight doesn't go the distance. Odds could be better than the Victor Diaz money line, and if they are, I'll probably recommend playing that. But once again, let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm going with Victor Diaz by round 1 submission. The next fight is going to be at bantamweight between Payton Talbott taking on Reyes Cortez Jr. And this fight is going to be fun. Payton Talbott is Sean O'Malley. just a different version of him. It's crazy. This guy fights and looks very similar to Sean O'Malley. He's tall for bantamweight. He's a rangy kickboxer. He throws flashy stuff. He doesn't have the best striking defense in the world, but man, this guy is all offense, and he loves to strike, and he loves to brawl as well, which could be a little bit of a problem in the future of his career, because Reyes Cortez has developed much better striking since his loss on Dana White's Contender Series to Christian Rodriguez, who has now gone on to have a pretty good career. He did beat Raul Rosas Jr., but C-Rod unfortunately still hasn't quite nailed making weight at 135, but Reyes Cortez, he did lose that fight. He attempted 10 takedowns. He didn't get really any of them. I think he got like 2 of them in that matchup, but ever since that fight, Reyes Cortez has worked on his boxing. You can tell that he's really worked on his striking, and he's not really wrestling as much as he used to. He didn't really wrestle against James Settle whatsoever, and he didn't really wrestle that much against Elijah Smith either. And I think Elijah Smith is a very similar matchup to the Payton Talbott fight, because Elijah Smith, he was pretty tall for 135 pounds. He was a long rangey kickboxer, and he did actually have a decent amount of success against Reyes Cortez before he did get KO'd. And I think that Payton Talbott can look at that Elijah Smith fight and see very similar sort of things. The problem with Payton Talbott and his biggest weakness in his entire game is his striking defense and also his wrestling defense. This guy's wrestling is interesting to watch, I'll tell you that. Every single time, without failure, his opponent will take him down, but Payton Talbott will be up within seconds. Every single time. He'll get taken down, he'll sprawl, and he'll scramble, and he'll get up. It's crazy how good this guy is at getting up off of his feet. He just can't really defend the initial shot. We saw him have a lot of trouble with the wrestling of opponent Anthony Jimenez, and also recently as well, Christian Rivas did go for a lot of takedowns in that matchup. He didn't get as many takedowns in that fight as Anthony Jimenez, but Payton Talbott has shown that he can get taken down, but he can't get controlled. Now, that's not really the worst thing in the world, because it's not that he's getting taken down and controlled, but he is still getting taken down. And also the striking defense, I did touch on it before. Some fights, Payton Talbott's moving his head a lot, and then some fights, his head's just staying still and he's just getting peppered all the time. Payton Talbott, you know, he's definitely got potential to develop that striking defense, because some fights you see him moving around, some fights you don't, but Payton Talbott's a pretty all-action striker. He's got KO power. He's very fun to watch. As I said, very much reminds me of Sean O'Malley. Reyes Cortez, he's a boxer wrestler. He was mainly a wrestler, but now he's turned into a wrestler. To a boxer, sorry, after he didn't have success against Christian Rodriguez, where C-Rod was able to defend the takedowns. And honestly, C-Rod just landed a lot of volume on Reyes Cortez in that fight, and I think that was kind of a fight where Reyes Cortez was like, man, I need to work on my striking. So now he's worked on his striking, but he's abandoned the wrestling sort of. So I think if Reyes Cortez does go out there and use the wrestling, he will have a lot of success against Payton Talbott, and that really could be a way that he wins this fight. But I am going to be going with Payton Talbott ever so slightly in this matchup. He is a slight favorite. He's minus 130. Reyes Cortez is plus 110. I think at one point Payton Talbott was the underdog, but now we've moved a little bit. You got Payton Talbott at minus 130. Reyes Cortez at plus 110. I think Reyes Cortez is a very good underdog, but I'm going to go with Payton Talbott. I think that Reyes Cortez, if he doesn't wrestle, I think he is going to be in trouble on the feet, because Payton Talbott is just one of those guys who is so exciting. He's going to be coming forward. He's going to be bowing away. He's going to be throwing high volume. He's going to be throwing head kicks. He's going to be throwing jumping knees. He's like Sean O'Malley. He really is Sean O'Malley, just not as refined of a version. You guys will see exactly what I mean on the fight, or if you go and watch his fights, he very much is a Sean O'Malley clone in a way. But I'm going to go with Payton Talbott. It seems like most of the Tapology community is going with Payton Talbott as well, but it's a closer fight than the Tapology does suggest. So give me Payton Talbott to win this matchup. And now we're going to have a heavyweight fight between Caio Machado and Kevin Szaflarski. And this is going to be one of those fights where I'm either going to look quite smart or I'm going to look like an idiot with my pick, because I'm going to give you guys my pick now. I'm going with Kevin Szaflarski, but he is actually a slight underdog at plus 120 and Caio Machado is minus 140. But the reason why I'm going to go with that is because I do believe he can survive the first round. And I think to beat Caio Machado, that's kind of all you need to do, is survive the first round. Caio Machado starts the fight and he bombs away, man. This guy is actually very fun to watch. He goes out there and he bombs away. He's throwing hooks. He doesn't have very technical striking. He leaves himself very open to be hit as well in the way that he strikes, but he bombs away. He gets the clinch. He gets you down. And man, this guy's jiu-jitsu, especially at heavyweight, is amazing. He's got very, very slick BJJ. He's got 2 armbar submissions recently. You don't see that at heavyweight whatsoever. But the problem is the guys that he's fighting are not young, man. Edison Lopez was 44 years old when he fought him. Lee Main was 54 years old. 54 years old when he fought him, and Chris Larson was, I believe he's 36 or 34, but Chris Larson actually did look like a pretty good fighter, and that probably is the best win that he does have on his record. But the thing about Caio Machado is, man, this guy is all action in the first round. He bombs away on the feet, as I said, throwing hooks, gets the clinch, tries to get you down, and then works his jiu-jitsu, and his jiu-jitsu is actually very, very good at heavyweight. He does have very slick BJJ, and that is potentially where he will have Kevin Szaflarski in trouble, which is kind of weird, because Kevin Szaflarski started his career with lots of submissions. You know, he got a triangle at heavyweight, that doesn't happen a lot. A heel hook at heavyweight, that doesn't happen a lot. A north-south choke at heavyweight, that doesn't happen a lot. And then he just started knocking people out, you know, and started boxing on the feet. And one thing that I did notice about Kevin Szaflarski is he loves the clinch. His fights weren't very fun to watch. He is a boxer that clinches a lot, but he's also a grappler because he's got a lot of submission wins. It seems like if he gets you out of the first round, if he doesn't get you out of the first round, sorry, he goes the distance. It's kind of weird to watch his fights. But one thing that I do really like in this matchup, especially against Caio Machado, is he does seem like he does have a lot of technique and a lot of very good fundamentals in striking. I like his technique. I think he's a lot more technical of a fighter than Caio Machado. His cardio seemed to hold up pretty well as well in the fights that he went 3 rounds in. Whereas Caio Machado, he's finishing guys in the first round. I can't really tell you how good his cardio is based off that. But I think if Caio Machado, just anyone, if anyone fights with the pace that Caio Machado does, especially at heavyweight, I think that they would gas out, and I think Kevin Szaflarski is strong enough in the clinch to defend the takedowns. I think he's strong enough in the clinch to reverse the clinching, and I think that he's good enough on the feet as well to avoid the big bombs from Caio Machado and land something of his own. So I think that this fight is going to get very, very scrappy in the first round. Maybe Caio Machado wins the first round. Maybe Caio Machado gets a finish in the first round. But I think if it leaves the first round and the second and the third round come along, I think Kevin Szaflarski is going to be the fresher fighter. He's going to be the more technical fighter. He's going to be the stronger fighter as well. I think he's the one in the second and the third round. This is gonna sound boring. I hope this doesn't happen, but he's gonna be the one leaning on Caio Machado in the cage and boxing from range with low volume. I'm going with Kevin Szaflarski by late finish over a very tired Caio Machado, or by decision. Kevin Szaflarski's fights, they're not very fun to watch. Caio Machado's fights are very, very fun to watch, but the problem is the level of competition that Caio Machado is fighting is not very good, and the ages of these people that he's fighting as well are 44 and 54. He's not fighting fellow young guys, man. Like, he's looking great against guys that aren't as good as him, is kind of what I'm trying to say. Whereas Kevin Szaflarski, on paper, yeah, he's fighting a much better competition, to be fair, but I think Kevin Szaflarski even then didn't look super, super impressive. So it's gonna be one of those fights. If it leaves the first round, I think Kevin Szaflarski wins. If it doesn't, then I think Caio Machado's probably finished Kevin in the first round. Let me know what you think in the comments below. It's weird because 80% of people on Tapology have Kevin Szaflarski to win, but the odds don't reflect that at all. He is a plus 120 underdog, and Caio Machado is minus 140. So let me know what you think, because I'm going to go with Kevin Szaflarski in a close fight, which I think he just survives the first and takes over due to better cardio. And now we have Tom Nolan taking on Bogdan Grad, and if anyone's going to disagree over a fight, it's probably going to be over this fight, because both guys are at evens right now. Tom Nolan is minus 110, Bogdan Grad is minus 110 as well. I'm on the Tom Nolan side. Now, from what I've seen, I seem to be a little bit on an island here, so I am going to have to explain myself quite a bit. I really like Tom Nolan. I think Tom Nolan fights in a very, very similar manner to Dan Hooker. He's big for lightweight. He's tall for lightweight. He's 6'3" with a 76-inch reach at lightweight. And he throws a lot of knees on the feet. He's a technical kickboxer. He's got cardio for days as well. His takedown defense isn't the best, and we have seen pretty unfortunate takedown defense, I guess, especially when you're taking on a guy like Bogdan Grad. But I think that he can survive Bogdan Grad. I think that he can take over. Tom Nolan has really good cardio, which I did pitch on before, because he actually won a fight based on his cardio. This guy, Adam Cook, was 7-1, was a very good grappler, was going for a lot of wrestling. He wasn't as good on the feet as Tom Nolan at all, but when the fight got down to the ground, Adam Cook showcased some very good grappling and some pretty good wrestling as well, but he gassed out after the first round, and in the second round, Adam Cook had nothing left, and Tom Nolan was still fresh, so Tom Nolan finished off a very gassed out Adam Cook. And from there, I was like, man, like Tom Nolan, he pushes a heavy pace, he throws a lot of volume, but he can go 3 rounds with that pace. He has got a couple of interesting wins as well. He's got a ground and pound win where he ended up on top and just finished off the fight. Based off that, he KO'd Aiden Aguilera like 3 times with knees. Like one time he knocked him down with a knee, and then he landed an illegal knee, but Aiden Aguilera just kind of took a little bit of time. He lost the points, did Tom Nolan, and then he knocked him out with another knee, which was unfortunate. Against Naum Steven, that was the fight which he got down to the ground and just finished him off with ground and pound. That was very impressive. But taking on Bogdan Grad, this is the toughest opponent of his entire career. Bogdan Grad's interesting to me though, because he is not big for lightweight whatsoever. Tapology has him listed as 5'9". I mean, the promotion that he used to fight for, this promotion called Cage, I think they're called Cage Fight Series, was listing him at 5'7", and he is not very big. This Renzo Mendes fellow that I was talking about earlier on, the guy that fought Kevin Borjas at 135 pounds, Bogdan Grad did not look very big against Renzo Mendes. I mean, he is not big for 155 pounds. He did get this awesome win over Tudor Duramengi by spinning heel kick in the second round. And after that, he did spam a lot of spinning kicks against Renzo Mendes. I think now that he's got the spinning kick finish, he wants another one. So that was pretty interesting and pretty fun to watch. But this guy, Tudor Duramengi, I mean, he was listed at, once again, he was listed at 6 wins to 3 losses on Tapology, but Cage Fight Series had him listed at 6 wins to 5 losses. So who really knows? But I thought Tudor Duramengi was having a lot of success on the feet, and too much success on the feet, where I think a guy like Tom Nolan could exploit that out of Bogdan Grad. Bogdan Grad's striking defense isn't that great. He does have wrestling, but he doesn't really use it too much. He probably will use it against Tom Nolan, especially after Tom Nolan maybe lands with some good shots and Bogdan Grad isn't able to close the distance on a guy like Tom Nolan, who does have a 76-inch reach and is 6'3" for 155 pounds. But I mean, I've seen a lot of takes, and I've seen a lot of takes from people that I do respect a lot picking Bogdan Grad, and I'm seeing people say that Bogdan Grad is just going to beat Tom Nolan up like a lot, and not on that terminology, of course, but man, like, I mean, I'm going with the Tom Nolan side. I could be proven wrong in this fight. This could be a fight which I look like a complete idiot, but from the research that I did and the fights that I watched, I think Tom Nolan can beat up Bogdan Grad on the feet. I think he can fight from range, Dan Hooker style as well, you know, fight from range, uses length, throw knees up the middle. I think we're going to see Tom Nolan have a lot of success in this matchup. I think maybe he struggles with the takedowns in the first round, but after the first round, we're going to see Tom Nolan kind of take over. Bogdan Grad, his cardio looked okay, but as I said, man, I was really impressed with the pace that Tom Nolan was able to push and the ability to keep up that pace. I think Tom Nolan puts a heavy pace on early, and I think he can maintain that pace for 3 rounds, and I think that he wins a decision or gets a knockout in the second or the third round. This is going to be a disputed pick from a lot of different people. A lot of people might agree with me, but just let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm on the Tom Nolan side. The majority of Tapology does have Bogdan Grad, but I'm very interested to know what you think in the comments below. And now on the main event of week number 1 for Dana White's Contender Series 2023, you've got a middleweight fight between Cesar Almeida taking on Lucas Fernando. And this fight, I mean, this fight could have a big upset in it, because you can see Cesar Almeida, he's 35 years old, he's 3-0. You might be wondering, what is he doing on Dana White's Contender Series? But I can tell you what he's doing on Dana White's Contender Series. He went to a trilogy with Alex Pereira, which involved 3 decisions, and they are pretty fun fights to watch as well. But man, this guy is good at striking. He does have a very extensive kickboxing career, which does include some very good wins in kickboxing. It does include a run in Glory Kickboxing as well, but when I tell you this guy's good at striking, he is really good at striking. And the problem is this matchup is Lucas Fernando is mostly a striker. He does have a couple of submissions, but he really loves to strike. And Lucas Fernando, I think if he does try and use a bit of striking in this matchup, trying to test the striking, I guess you could say, against Cesar Almeida, I think that could be a bad idea, because Cesar Almeida, his striking is incredible, and I know it's going to sound silly to say, yes, he's a former kickboxer, yes, he beat Alex Pereira, but, like, man, this guy is really good on the feet. Now, the problem with Cesar Almeida is he's got 3 wins in MMA. I mean, that spans the course of about 7 years. And he has never been really taken down or tested in the grappling. I have no idea how good this guy's grappling is. I can tell you how good his striking is, and one thing I can tell you is I don't think he's going to struggle with the size of the gloves. A lot of people do bring up things when boxers and also kickboxers go over to MMA. They're going to struggle with the smaller gloves, but the way that Cesar Almeida blocks punches and blocks strikes, he does use his forearms a lot, and he did it in his MMA fight, especially. It's gonna sound weird to bring up a fight 7 years ago, but against Thiago Araujo, he did defend a lot of strikes with his forearms. He wasn't using the gloves to try and defend strikes. He was using his forearms. And I think he probably will do that against Lucas Fernando. Lucas Fernando on the feet, you know, he's 6'3" at middleweight. He's pretty long. He's got a very good frame. And he throws a lot of 1-2s. And he's got a very fast 1-2. That's kind of like his go-to combination. And he can wrestle and grapple. And it's something that he's actually incorporated a lot more recently against Fabio Aguilar. He had to defend a lot of takedowns. And then against Yancy Silva, he actually went for a lot of takedowns and tried to use his grappling to win that fight and wear down Yancy Silva over the course of a 4-round fight. And I like to see that, because that tells me that Lucas Fernando is at least working on his wrestling, on his offensive wrestling and grappling. And I think in this fight, this is a fight he needs to use it, man. I think he needs to use that wrestling and grappling against Lucas Fernando, because as long as the fight is on the feet, Cesar Almeida is going to be a very live, big underdog at plus 235. I'm going to go with Lucas Fernando to win by submission in the first round, but I think that if Lucas Fernando goes out there and decides that he wants to strike with Cesar Almeida, if he wins a striking match with Cesar Almeida by KO or decision, I will be incredibly impressed. But I think he's really risking a lot, man. I think he's risking a lot by trying to strike with Cesar Almeida. So I'm going to go with Lucas Fernando to win by submission. But I do want to emphasize, as long as the fight is on the feet, Cesar Almeida is going to be a good dog. This guy's a very, very good striker, very high-level striker. But I've got no idea how good his wrestling is. I've got no idea how good his grappling is. I've heard rumors that he's only started training MMA full-time and really committing to it this year. And if he's done that, he's going to be years behind Lucas Fernando. He's been training in MMA and fighting in MMA since at least 2016. So he's got years of wrestling and grappling experience behind him. Now, I guess you could say Alex Pereira doesn't really have that much wrestling and grappling experience, and he has defended a lot of takedowns and transitions from Jan Blachowicz. But I think this is one of those fights, man. I think Lucas Fernando is going to go out there. I think he's going to get a submission against Cesar Almeida, but I do want to emphasize the fact that Cesar Almeida is he's pretty good at striking, right? You know, he beat Alex Pereira, but I do want to emphasize that he's a fantastic striker. He really, really is. And I think that his striking style does transition well into MMA, but I'm going to go with Lucas Fernando to win by submission in the very, very first round. That is it for week number 1 of Dana White's Contender Series 2023. Let me know what you think of my picks in the comments below. Let me know what you're looking forward to about this card. I'm telling you guys, week number 2 is going to be insane. Week number 2 is going to be crazy. It's definitely something to look forward to. But with all that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.